Hello and welcome to Geology, a channel dedicated to biology or the study of life. We all know CBSE has released the sample question papers and answers for 2024-25, and in this video we are going to dive right into it. We will not only solve the questions but also break down the logic, strategies and reasons behind each answer. Stick with me till the end to make sure you're fully prepared and confident for the exams. Sample question paper. Question number 8 is the first question in biology, which is an MCQ for 1 mark. So the question is, during cellular oxidation of glucose, ATP is produced along with formation of other products in this reaction. Which of the following events is associated with the production of maximum ATP molecules per molecule of glucose during this process? Synthesis of A. Ethanol in yeast, B. Lactic acid in muscle cells, C. Carbon dioxide in yeast, and D. Carbon dioxide in human cells. So the right answer is carbon dioxide in human cells. But why is that so? Let's look at the options. Number A, ethanol in yeast. This is part of alcoholic fermentation which occurs in anaerobic conditions and produces far less number of ATPs, that is just 2 ATP per glucose, and involves production of ethanol, not carbon dioxide as in this context. Option B, lactic acid in muscle cells, is a part of lactic acid fermentation in anaerobic conditions, and it also produces very less ATP and lactic acid instead of carbon dioxide. Option C, carbon dioxide in yeast cell. During fermentation in yeast, carbon dioxide is produced but ATP yield is much lower than in human cells because fermentation only generates 2 ATP molecules per glucose molecule. Option D, which is carbon dioxide in human cells, refers to aerobic respiration in human cells where the complete oxidation of glucose produces carbon dioxide and water, and the highest amount of ATP, which is about 30 to 32 ATP, is generated. So thus, the event associated with maximum production of ATP per molecule of glucose is the oxidation of glucose in human cells where carbon dioxide is released as a byproduct. That is why answer D is the correct answer. Question 9. During which of the following stages of circulation of blood in a normal human being, the oxygenated blood is pumped to all parts of the body? Option A, contraction of left atrium, B, contraction of left ventricle, C, relaxation of right atrium, D, relaxation of right ventricle. Answer is B, contraction of left ventricle. And that is because the oxygenated blood from the lungs enters the left atrium and then passes into the left ventricle. When the left ventricle contracts, it pumps the oxygen-rich blood into the aorta, which then sends it to all parts of the body. Option A, contraction of left atrium. This moves the oxygenated blood into left ventricle, but it does not pump it to the body. Option C, which is relaxation of right atrium. This allows deoxygenated blood to flow into right ventricle, but it does not pump oxygenated blood to the body. Option D, relaxation of right ventricle, allows deoxygenated blood to flow into the lungs for oxygenation and not into the body. Therefore, contraction of left ventricle, which is option B, is the stage where the oxygenated blood is pumped to the entire body, and that is the right answer. Question 10. Which of the following adaptations in herbivores helps in digestion of cellulose? A, longer large intestine, B, smaller large intestine, C, smaller small intestine, and D, longer small intestine. Answer is D, longer small intestine. And to understand this, in herbivores, the longer small intestine aids in the digestion of cellulose from plant material. So the small intestine is where most of the enzymatic digestion and nutrient absorption occurs. Herbivores have evolved longer small intestine to maximize the time for breakdown of the complex plant material and absorbing the resulting nutrients. Additionally, herbivores often have symbiotic bacteria in their intestines, which also help to break down cellulose, but primary digestion still occurs in small intestine. So the long small intestine increases the surface area and provides more time for this breakdown. There was a cerebral dysfunction in a patient. Which of the following activities will get disturbed in this patient as a result of this? A, salivation, B, hunger control, C, posture and balance, and D, regulation of blood pressure. The right answer is posture and balance. Let's see why. The cerebellum is a part of the brain that plays a crucial role in coordinating voluntary movements, maintaining posture, and ensuring balance. When there is dysfunction in the cerebellum, it can lead to problems with tasks which requires motor coordination such as maintaining posture, walking, and balancing. Option A, salivation, is actually controlled by autonomic nervous system and not directly by the cerebellum. Hunger control, which is a function of hypothalamus and not cerebellum. Regulation of blood pressure is primarily controlled by medulla oblongata and not cerebellum. So thus, when cerebellum is affected, posture and balance, option C, are the activities which are most likely to be disturbed. Question 12. In snails, individuals can begin life as a male, and depending on environmental conditions, they can become female as they grow. This is because option A, male snails have dominant genetic makeup, B, female snails have dominant genetic makeup, C, expression of sex chromosomes can change in snails' lifetime, and D, sex is not genetically determined in snails. The right answer is D, and let's see why. So, in some species of snails, sex is not determined by the fixed genetic factor. Instead, these snails exhibit sequential hermaphroditism, meaning that they can start life as a male and later become female or vice versa, depending on environmental factors such as population density or available mates. Option A, stating that male snails have dominant genetic makeup, is incorrect because the sex determination in these snails is not based on dominant genetic makeup. Similarly, option B is not correct because the sex change is not determined by the dominance of female genetics. Option C, expression of sex chromosomes can change in the snail's lifetime, is also incorrect because in species with environmental sex determination, the sex change is not due to changing sex chromosomes but rather external factors. So the right answer is D because these snails do not have fixed sex chromosomes and their sex is influenced by the environmental conditions and not by genetics. The energy available to the producers is maximum because option A, it is the first tropic level which absorbs 1% of the light energy directly from the source. Number B, it utilizes the most of the chemical energy for its own respiration, growth, reproduction, movement, etc. Number C, it utilizes 10% of light energy and transfers the rest to the next tropic level. And D, it transfers only 10% of the light energy to the next tropic level. Minded, we need to identify the incorrect statement. And the one which is not correct is our answer, which is C. It utilizes 10% of light energy and transfers the rest to the next tropic level. Now, why is that so? Let's break down the options. Option A is true because producers like plants absorb about 1% of the light energy from the sun and then convert it into the chemical energy during photosynthesis. Option B is also true because producers utilize the majority of the absorbed energy for their own metabolism, like respiration, growth, etc. Option D is also true because it refers to the 10% energy transfer rule that applies to the transfer of energy between tropic levels in the food chain, that is from producers to herbivores and so on. So it's an established rule, and that statement is also correct. So option C is wrong because it claims that the producers use 10% of the light energy, which is not right. Producers actually use a much smaller portion of the light energy they receive, and the 10% rule applies to the energy passed from one tropic level to the next and not to how much energy the producers themselves use. Question 16. Which of the following is not a role of decomposers in the ecosystem? A, natural replenishment of soil. 2, enrichment of oxygen in atmosphere. C, waste decomposition. And D, breakdown of dead remains. The right answer is enrichment of oxygen in atmosphere, which is option B. So that is because B is not the direct role of the decomposers. Decomposers primarily break down organic matter, which often results in the release of gases like carbon dioxide and methane rather than oxygen. Question 18 is an assertion and reasoning question. The assertion statement is generally the number of chromosomes in a cell and in a germ cell is not the same in species. Reason: when two germ cells combine, they restore the number of chromosomes in a species. The answer is both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. So let's break down the assertion and reason. Assertion A: generally the number of chromosomes in a cell and in a germ cell is not the same in species. This statement is true because in some species, somatic cells, which is the body cells, contain diploid or 2n set of chromosomes, which is double the number of chromosomes in the germ cell, that is the egg or the sperm. Germ cells are haploid, n, meaning they contain only one set of chromosomes. The reason R, stating that when two germ cells combine, they restore the number of chromosomes in a species, is also true because when a male sperm cell, which is haploid, and a female egg cell, which is also haploid, fuse during fertilization, they form a zygote, which is diploid. This restores the normal chromosome number in the offsprings of that species, and this ensures that the species remains or maintains a stable chromosome number from generation to generation. Assertion: if the lions are removed from the food chain, it will not affect the food chain. However, if the plants are removed, it will disturb the ecosystem. Reason: plants are producers who can make food using sunlight, while lions are consumers. The answer to this is that assertion A is false, but the reason R, that is a statement in the reason R, is true. Let's see why. In the assertion statement, removing the lions, which are the top predators, would indeed affect the food chain. Lions regulate the population of the herbivores, which in turn impacts the plant population. Removal of lions can lead to an overpopulation of herbivores, which would then consume more plants, causing an imbalance in the ecosystem. So therefore, the removal of the lion does affect the food chain. Reason: statement is true because the plants are the primary producers in the food chain because they produce their own food through the photosynthesis, providing energy for herbivores and in turn other trophic levels. Lions, on the other hand, are consumers, that is carnivores, relying on other organisms for food.